We spent the morning of the 5th day at the music college. That music reinvigorated us and gave us a boost that will stay with us for the rest of our journey.
Do you perform only folk music with the national instruments, or do you perform other music as well?
Yes.
Mozart. Wow, can you play?
You may ask a concertmaster.
No, can't remember anything of this kind.
Ah, a Turkish march.
In Kostanay, we meet Olga Kolokova, editor-in-chief of the local Nasha Gazeta, which means our newspaper in English. While we set up our camera, we talk about our itinerary. When Olga hears that we couldn't get into the village of Orynbor, the one that was handed over to Russia, she remembers writing an article about this issue.
During the second year of publishing our newspaper, we found out that there were big problems with Orynbor. This village was in the territory of Kostanay, region of Kazakhstan, but all its companies worked for a Russian plant in Magnitogorsk. Moreover, all its people had Russian citizenship and they used Russian rubles for payments. Imagine Kazakh territory with Russian money and Russian citizens, but no one could really go to Russia to have treatment or to study. You had to cross the state border every time to go to Russia. People really suffered there. Our journalists were there and we made a spread in our newspaper. It took a while to solve this problem, as always in our countries. Statements at government level first, then from pillar to post.
We knew the story and wanted to see the village, but no such luck.
You mean you, being a Russian citizen, tried to come into the Russian village and...
Absolutely.
And you couldn't go?
We couldn't.
All the fuss was right for that reason, for the people who could really live and work there. I remember we wrote about that with such great relief. Thanks God, people reunited with the country they've associated, and now they can freely come and leave. It was like, I don't know, many years ago. I guess 10 years or so.
It was exactly 10 years ago.
Our publisher is really crazy with a European mindset and attitude. He wants to live according to the law and he wants laws to define our lives. And somehow we found each other. A small group of journalists came to him. After a long period of squabbles, quarrels, much slamming of doors, editorial staff finally settled down. And we raised a generation of journalists who can't work in other Kazakh media. They usually move to the capital and can't find a decent place to work even there, or they move to Russia looking for a media house like ours. But there are fewer of them in Russia, and it's the same in Kazakhstan. Don't get me wrong, but a newspaper in the Kazakh language can't make a profit right now. For us, our newspaper and its website is a business. We don't eat out of somebody's hand. Our owner runs a publishing business, that's all. That's why we need to make money. It seems like the majority of our readers here in Kostanay region, even ethnic Kazakhs, speak mostly Russian.
Is it typical of Kazakhstan in general or northern Kazakhstan?
It's typical of the regions bordering with Russia. You know, we recently talked about that with my colleague Galina Petrenko, and I told her, it's a funny thing how our people here differ from Russians. Chelyabinsk region of Russia is so close to us, much closer than, say, Astana. We can go there for treatment or something. We know its people really well, but the Russian people here in Kostanay and in Russia are quite different. Of course, everywhere people are the same. Some are stupid, some aren't. Some people are scumbags, some are good. But generally speaking, people differ so much.
Different mentality?
Quite different.
And what's the difference?
People here have a broader outlook. People, in fact, have a wider outlook here. They are internationally minded. One of my friends here put her little boy in kindergarten into the Kazakh-speaking group.
Она потом уехала в Россию, благополучно, вот сейчас на Новый год приехала. Она отдала его в садик, в группу на казахском языке.
I was shocked when at the age of 5 or 6 he started speaking in one language, then switched halfway through to the other language. We all were freaked out because no one could understand him. That was the way he structured his speech, you know. The two cultures coexisted. Eventually they sorted itself out, but he could still speak Kazakh when needed. Their family moved to Russia later. He's gonna be 17 soon, and I guess he has already forgotten the Kazakh language, but he still has it somewhere inside. But to be honest, there are not so many chocolate box pictures in life, not so many examples of assimilation. There are more examples of problems rather than interpenetration of the languages. The Russian-speaking residents of the area just grieve over the fact that the number of hours of teaching in Russian at school is reduced. There has been an announcement that certain disciplines will be taught in the Kazakh and English languages only. It's gonna be a real help for my granddaughter, who hasn't yet reached school age. And I do not really understand these initiatives.
There also was an idea to transfer Kazakh language from the Cyrillic to the Latin alphabet.
This has been widely discussed. I have a feeling that this type of idea is brought up if there is a recession or when there are problems with the regime, when steam needs to be let off. They introduce ideas like changing the name of the country or transferring to Latin alphabet. People are shocked and stressed. After that, someone rejects the idea and people feel relief. They forget about the economic difficulties and the new election laws or whatever. Every morning I get up and watch Euronews, while my husband gets up and quietly switches to Russia 24. Drinking our coffee, we usually hiss at each other because we hold different views on a problem. We even agree to avoid certain subjects. Here we don't have such a complete and obsessive, I don't know how to tell you, I don't know what your beliefs are and don't want to offend you.
It doesn't really matter.
Here we don't indulge in such obsessive jingoism, you know. That crazy bliss of a stallion who mounts the world and makes everyone happy. We don't have it here. Sure, most of the Russian-speaking population say bravo Putin, but the Kazakhs do not really share their ecstasy, because people living in neighboring countries never experience things in quite the same way. But here I am, much more in solidarity with the Kazakhs. If Russia and Kazakhstan turn their backs on close relations and togetherness, I guess, the outflow from Kazakhstan will be stronger. I don't know. I wouldn't even say now that it would be a tragedy or disaster. It won't be a disaster. Not a disaster on a geopolitical scale. The country will just become mononational and will become what many want it to be. But it won't be terrible.
We thank Olga Kolokolova, have a look round their office and drive to Petropavlovsk with the sound of the music from the college in Rudny ringing in our ears. late that night, we arrive in Petropavlovsk. We are too late for the evening service in Peter and Paul's Cathedral, so we go to the midnight Christmas service in the newly built Ascension Cathedral. People have already started to gather there by 11 o'clock.